Hello everyone. Welcome back to another Commander review for Magic the Gathering. Today is the start of the Planar Chaos set, and boy, howdy, is this going to be fun. The Planar Chaos set, if you don't know, is story-wise, I'm not sure exactly, but when it comes to some of the iconic characters that we know and love, like Akroma or Braids, one of the cool things about Planar Chaos is it's like an alternate reality, so these are the same characters, but if they had taken a different path or they had different outcomes, so they have a twist on who they are and therefore like their color identity. So today we are starting with Akroma, Angel of Fury. This is not the Angel of Wrath mono white angel, this is now a mono red angel. With power and toughness 6/6 and a whopping mana value of 8, 5 generic and 3 red mana. Akroma Angel of Fury has this spell can't be countered, which is very cool. It has multiple keywords, just like the original one: flying, trample, protection from white and from blue. And then it has an activated ability. For 1 red, it essentially has fire breathing. Akroma, Angel of Fury, or Akroma as it reads in the Oracle text, gets +1/+0 until end of turn. So just good old traditional fire breathing. And then lastly, it has the Morph ability, which in this case is Morph 3 generic and 3 red mana. And then you can see here in the rules text, or the reminder text, you may cast this card face down as a 2/2 creature for 3 generic mana. Turn it face up at any time for its morph cost, and the morph cost is that 6 mana right next to the word morph. So, morph is an awesome mechanic. I absolutely love morph. It is super cool. I've had 2 morph commander decks that were like built around the morph mechanic, and they were both very fun. I can't wait to rebuild a morph deck to play with. I just gotta find the right commander that like blends the 2 decks that I had, because it's just so much fun. But for Akroma's case, one of the things to note with this is you can cast Akroma from the command zone for its morph cost. You can pay 3 mana instead of 8 and cast it as a face-down creature, as a face-down 2/2 like colorless creature essentially, with no creature types. Of course, your opponents will still know which one's Akroma until you have maybe another morph creature in play, and then you can kind of shuffle them up to try and keep Akroma hidden. That's kind of the whole idea of morph, is it's like trap cards in Yu-Gi-Oh! Or face-down creature cards in Yu-Gi-Oh! Where you don't want your opponent to know what you have. So morph is Magic the Gathering's way of doing that with creatures. But in order to turn Akroma face up, you'll need to use its morph cost. There are other ways of flipping Akroma up using its full mana value, the 8 mana value, but that requires other face-down mechanic stuff. Let's get into the rules. There we go. So there are 3 card rules for this commander, all of them pretty recent in the grand scheme of things, back in 2021. I'm going to read these off of the screen over here just because I can read it better here. So the first rule is, a spell or ability that counters spells can still target Akroma. When that spell or ability resolves, Akroma won't be countered, but any additional effects of the countering spell or ability will still happen. And it's cool that that has that note there, because one of the things when it comes to choosing targets for spells is if the spell no longer has a valid target as it resolves, then it essentially fizzles and doesn't work anymore. So what this rule is trying to say is, and I can't think of one off the top of my head, the first one that comes into my head is like a pirate counter spell. I don't remember its name, let me know in the comments down below. But essentially it counters target spell, and then you make treasure equal to its mana value. What this rule is stating is that you can target Akroma with the counter spell, but because Akroma says this spell can't be countered, as the pirate counterspell resolves, it will not counter Akroma because Akroma can't be countered. It's still a valid target, however, which means the rest of the spell can resolve, and you should be able to make 8 treasure tokens equal to Akroma's mana value, because Akroma's still a valid target, it's just Akroma just can't be countered. So it's valid target, but it won't do anything as far as countering, but it's a cool way that you could ramp if you have that counter spell in your hand. The second is, if Akroma Angel of Fury is cast face down, it can be countered, because when it's face down, it doesn't have any of the face up texts according to it, because when it comes to like how the game works, if Akroma was face down but still had all of its cool can't be countered, flying, protection nonsense, then your opponents would always know which one is Akroma, because it would be essentially face up. Because you'd have to remind them, oh, this is the one that has flying, this is the one that has first strike, this is... So it kind of breaks the whole point of morphing. When it's morphed, it is no longer Akroma. It is this hidden, shrouded thing that you can turn face up to surprise your opponents with. So yes, bear that in mind. If you do cast it for its morph cost of 3 mana, it can be countered that way because it is technically being a 2/2 face down colorless creature thing. And lastly, in a commander game where Akroma is your commander, you may cast it face down from the command zone by paying 3 generic mana plus 2 generic mana for each time it has been cast from your command zone. The cost to turn it face up is ineffective. While face down, the combat damage it deals is still counted as damage dealt by your commander. So that's kind of 2 things wrapped up into one to quickly like oversimplify that. As part of the wording here for morph down at the bottom is it says you may cast this card. So essentially the casting cost of this commander for its morph is 3. That's why it specifies. Don't forget the commander tax if you're going to cast the morph cost of this commander, which will be 3 plus 2 for every time you've cast it from the command zone previously. So that works the exact same as if you were to pay the initial 8 plus commander tax. The reason why you don't add that tax to the morph flip cost, which is the 6 mana you see there, is because to flip it for its morph cost is not casting it. You're simply paying the 6 mana and flipping it face up. And there is one more thing I want to note about that before I get to the second half of that rule. When you are flipping something up for its morph cost, it does not go on the stack. You do not say, oh, I'm going to flip Akroma up for 6 mana. And then your opponent's like, oh, I'm going to counter that activated ability or something, right? Those morph costs do not go on the stack. Flipping a creature face up by paying its cost does not go on the stack. And that is because if you were able to interact with it, it would essentially make the morph cards unusable to an extreme degree. So, like lands, where putting mana abilities on is not going on the stack, tapping things for mana doesn't go on the stack, activating morph flip costs does not go on the stack. So you can always flip Akroma up without any worry about someone interacting with it. After it's flipped up, if there's any triggered effects or anything like that, then someone may interact with it. And then lastly, sorry, I'm so coffee. I'm coughing so much. It's this cold weather, don't you know? The last thing I want to mention with this is a long video already, but there's a lot to talk about with this commander, is commander damage. When it comes to commander damage, all that it cares about is that damage is coming from the card that is your commander. So whether that's the face-up version of that card or the face-down version of that card, it's still the same. The thing to bear in mind with that is that if you deal commander damage with Akroma while it's face down, you'll have to let your opponents know, oh, by the way, 2 of that damage is my commander. And I don't know if maybe that's something that you need to be like, oh, this one right here is the one that dealt the 2 commander damage, or you just need to be like, I attack with 4 face-down creatures, that's 8 damage, because they're all 2/2 face-down morph creatures. But 2 of them are commander damage. I'm not exactly sure on like the ethics of that, of how you establish which one is the commander or not, but yeah, it's commander damage because it cares about the physical card. So if you make a token copy of Akroma, the token does not deal commander damage. Only the physical commander itself deals commander damage, regardless of it being face up or face down. And that's all the rules. That was a lot to talk about, and I think that's just because it's Morph and it's crazy, but cool. So a card to synergize with this commander, Ironcrag Feet. Very fun card, and a great way that you can easily ramp into playing it from the command zone, or getting it into play and then using this to morph the creature face up, which will be a lot cheaper for you. Essentially, you can turn 3, play a land, cast Akroma face down for its morph cost, turn 4, Ironcrag Feet, get 7 mana, flip Akroma face up with 1 mana left over, which is pretty cool. For like a turn 4 caster commander, essentially. Speaking of morph, a fun deck idea to build around would be a morph tribal deck. And if I were to do this video back in the day, this would be very, almost impossible to do. But we've actually had a ton of support, whether it's from more reprints of morph cards in mono red, or whether it's because we've gone to the Tarkir plane and we've had Manifest as a mechanic brought to us. Karlov Manor had a face-down mechanic with the Disguise or Cloak mechanic, which is very cool. Duskmourn had its own form of face-down reactions and abilities with Manifest Dread. And we even have, if you want to play like face-down tribal and have non-creature, non-permanent spells, you can do the Foretell mechanic from Kaldheim, where you can exile your instants and sorceries face down and cast them later to do crazy stuff. So like this face down, you don't know what I'm doing, but I know what you guys are going to be doing, and I'm full of surprises and full of tricks up my sleeve. I think this could be a lot of fun. I love the morph mechanic, and I love the face down mechanic, so I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on this deck idea. And that is going to do it for Akroma, Angel of Fury. Really cool card. The last thing I'll say mechanically, which I should have said during the beginning, but I didn't, is a reminder on what protection is, because I don't think we're really going to see protection much anymore as we go farther and farther into this game. We see it so little nowadays. Protection from blank. In this case, it's protection from white and from blue. Remember this acronym DET. Akroma cannot be damaged, enchanted, targeted, or blocked by white and blue sources. Whether that's a mono white or mono blue card, or whether that's an Azorius card, or whether that's any card that has white or blue in it. It could be Jeskai, it could be Sultai, it could be Temur. Anything that has white or blue in it cannot damage, enchant, target, or block Akroma, Angel of Fury. So it is a very cool mechanic. It's a little difficult to remember at times, which I think is the biggest reason why we see it less and less nowadays, and why we see things more like hexproof from blank, or you know, whatever it is. So that's the last rules thing I'll mention with this commander, is the protection. But it's a really cool card. It deals a lot of damage. but it is very expensive, so it's hard to get up to that mana, and if you're going the morph route, you have to be careful because it has no protections at that point when you use the morph side. So be careful with how you want to play with this commander, but have a lot of fun, and let me know in the comments down below what you guys think of this commander. Like I said in the last set, all of the commanders in this set are also going to be S tier. Everyone's building with all these commanders that have come out over the years and decades of Magic's existence, which is great. But that also means that essentially everything is now S tier because everyone's building tons of different decks with these commanders. So go check out online if there's any deck ideas that stand out to you, and let me know in the comments below if there's anything I missed or I didn't talk about. I've been rambling a lot for just one card, but it's a very cool card. So thank you again, and as always, I'll see you in the next one. Bye!